was a madam for 5 years. During that time, I accumulated a very large client list with over 10,000 names. I booked a lot of these appointments myself, especially if you were a big spender. I was going to call you, thank you for your business, give you my phone number. That way you felt you had a personal connection. But I became sort of a confidant for many of these men. They called me quite often, not even to book business, just to talk because they needed a friend. And I got to know them in ways that most women won't, in a more honest capacity. After having thousands of conversations with men, I really got to understand the differences between how men and women think. So for this video, I want to talk to you about cheating and the reasons why some men cheat, and also how you can better predict whether or not your man is going to cheat and understand his behavior pattern and why. Before I ran my agency, I thought I understood men. Totally lying to myself. I've also been cheated on. In fact, when I was running my agency, my current live-in boyfriend was cheating on me with one of the girls and then ratted me out in a secret grand jury indictment. So I understand firsthand how deep betrayal hurts and how I actually overlooked the signs. And here's what men won't tell you. A lot of men think of long-term exclusivity as a sacrifice. They either don't really believe in monogamy or they don't want to be with one woman for the rest of their life. So internally, even if they're not going to tell you this, internally, they think of it as a huge sacrifice. And many men cheat because they're not willing to make that sacrifice. Now, let me explain this. There are levels to the sacrifice, right? 20%, 40%, 100%, right? You might get the title of wife or girlfriend. You might get the title of live-in girlfriend, but is he really sacrificing? Okay, you might get that title, but he's only investing 20 to 40% in you. Now, what do I mean by that? Y'all know what I mean because we've all been there. That guy who says the right things but doesn't do them. He doesn't show up the way that you want him to. We've all been there. I'm talking about the guy who says the right thing and doesn't do them. I'm talking about the guy who says he wants a commitment, but then he goes out all weekend with his friends. I'm talking about the guy who you want to believe him, but his actions don't match his words. I'm talking about men who are not consistent, the men who have a million excuses for why they don't show up. Maybe it's work related. Maybe they have other commitments, but at the end of the day is an excuse. And it doesn't stop there, right? It's also the guy who says he's not ready. He might show up as a boyfriend, but he's also not ready. Or he's got one foot in the door, one foot out the door. These guys know what it takes to be in a relationship. They know they're not showing up 100%. Okay, this is an indicator of someone who is either going to cheat now or in the future, because they understand that a long-term exclusive commitment requires 100% sacrifice, that they have to look themselves in the mirror every day and say, I'm going to show up for this woman 100%. I understand her needs and her wants, and I'm going to try to address them. Okay, so when he's not doing this in small ways, like showing up consistently, this is an indicator. In their head, they know they're giving 20%. They know they're giving 40%. And they know that a relationship, actually from the male perspective, requires 100% because a lot of them do not want to have long-term physical exclusivity, okay? They don't want to be monogamous to a woman for the rest of their life, to one woman for the rest of their life. So they understand that in order to actually do that, they have to face all their demons, okay? They have to face all their demons, and they have to be able to say no when temptation comes. And if he's only investing 20 or 40%, he's not going to say no. When temptation comes across his door, he's going to be like, hey, I'm available. I can't tell you how many clients shared stories with me. Okay, these guys would call me. I would ask them what's going on in their personal life, and I could tell that they were not 100% committed to whatever relationship they were in. They were using services because it was easy. It was safe. The woman wasn't going to call them after. They weren't going to get them pregnant and have some long-term affair, so it was safer for them. But these guys, they weren't invested in their relationships. So therefore, they're also not going to invest physically to a long-term, exclusive, committed relationship. But many of us women, we get in relationships, we even marry men who don't sacrifice 100% for us. I don't know exactly why for every woman why we do that, but I think a lot of times it's because we believe in that Disney fairy tale. We are conditioned to believe that sacrifice is romantic, right? Because we're the damsel that waits. We are 100% needing to be saved by Prince Charming. So if we are good, kind, understanding, patient, the reward for those things, the reward for also minimizing our wants and needs, the reward for that is love. And that's not true. That is where you get abused. That is where people cheat on you, when you sacrifice your own wants and needs and you lower your standards and your boundaries. But men inherently actually know this. But a lot of times we are going into a relationship being like, well, I'm going to make excuses for all of his shortcomings. He works a lot and he does this, he does that, and he wants to go out with his friends. Even though we know that person isn't sacrificing 100%, we know we deserve better, but we're going to overlook it because eventually one day he will be that guy. Eventually one day he's going to be the hero in the story, which is completely wrong. Because the truth is, men will do as much as we allow. Men will have side chicks, other families, get women pregnant, use services, because we are not actually going out and taking that other 80%, right? Let's say he's only sacrificing 20% because we've allowed that. We've said to him basically through a silent contract in allowing disrespectful behavior or bad behavior. We're basically like, okay, well, you've still got 80%, and he's going to go give that 80% to someone else. I think this is why a lot of people use that saying, you should find a man who likes you more than you like him, because those men are probably going to sacrifice more for you because they like you so much. And chances are, if a man is sacrificing, close to 100%, that he's not going to cheat, right? Because in his head, he understands the woman's expectations, right? He understands that you expect monogamy, and he's going to give you that because he's made himself okay with, I'm going to sacrifice 100%. As a man, I don't really actually want to be monogamous, but I'm choosing this person and I'm choosing to sacrifice that part of myself that wants another woman for this long-term exclusive monogamous relationship. So how do we stop this? First off, it's no reflection on us. Someone else cheating on us and breaking their commitment to us is not a reflection of our worth. So that's the first thing. However, we can usually see red flags. Most of us know that going into something, we are accepting less than we deserve. We know that we are sacrificing. So why are you sacrificing? Are you sacrificing because you believe this fairy tale that sacrifice is romantic and someday this man will show up for you the way that you want? He probably won't. And now you have sacrificed your best years. I'm sure many of my former clients' wives thought that. You have to break that cycle, right? You have to say, okay, you know what? I deserve better. I deserve better right now. And you go out and you find the man who's willing to sacrifice 100%. You go out there and date, and you know that men don't really want to be monogamous, no matter what lies they're telling you. If they're telling you one thing, there's only a small percentage of men who actually feel that way. Okay, I'm going to say 10 to 15%. So if they're telling you that, probably they're telling you that because they want you to think of them as a good guy, a loyal guy. It could be a cover up because maybe he is actually a cheater, or society has conditioned him to say these things because he knows if he doesn't say them, he'll be considered a schmuck or a douchebag. So he's saying what society wants him to actually say. But in all honesty, it doesn't matter what he says. Anyone can say anything. What matters is his patterns and his sacrifice for you. Is he coming through in the ways that you need him to? When you say you have a want or a need, how does he respond to that? How does he treat you? How does he value your time? If he knows that it's important to you that he's home on the weekends, is he there? Is he doing things that better your relationship, or is he doing things that make it worse? I've been betrayed myself a few times, and I wish I had known these things then. When I reflect back on those relationships, those guys weren't showing up for me 100%. They were doing whatever they wanted, and I was okay with it because I hoped they would change. I was staying home all weekend, sometimes upset while they went and partied with their friends. and thinking to myself, well, maybe it's me. Maybe if I was prettier, they would do these things. And I just thought, I will hang in there because I love them. But guess what? All of these people turned out to be the same exact way. Now, after running my agency and having such a vast experience with men, that's who they are. They know, a man knows he's either going to give you 20, 40, or 100%, but his level of commitment is tied to that sacrifice. And again, there are levels to this. And when you allow yourself to take scraps from a man who's on like level 50 with you, but you want to be on level 1, then he's going to do everything that's associated with someone who's just not committed enough to do the right thing. We women have to stop making excuses for men and accepting less. We deserve better, and we need to hold these men accountable. We women need to stop accepting less. We need to hold these men accountable for treating us the way that we deserve. But also, just as important, we need to hold ourselves accountable with kindness and love to ourselves, because everyone makes mistakes. But we need to hold ourselves accountable when we know that we're accepting less, when we know that we've lowered our standards and boundaries, when we're ignoring red flags. That's when we really have to hold ourselves accountable. Do you want to go through more heartbreak? Do you want to invest years in your life with a man who's not showing up and then end up with him cheating on you, losing your home, losing financial status, and breaking your heart? Do you want to do that? Because the accountability lies with us, because we often ignore the red flags, and we have to stop doing that. I'm Kristin Davis, the ex-Manhattan Madam. I spent years getting to know men and decoding what they say versus what they actually mean. Hit the subscribe button if you liked this video.